Alright, so, it's our last class in the closed guard. Somebody just eat like a bag of popcorn on these mats or something? Like, what is going on? Or go Redenbacher. Anyway, so before I get into anything I was gonna plan on showing, open the floor for Q&A. Tony, you said you had sort of a thing where you're
Just, just like we should be focusing on as your guards being broken.
Cool. So that kind of depends on, I would say, the manner in which it's getting broken. So what would you say is like the specific, if there was one specific way you wanted to address, what would you say it would be?
Just standing up, hitting that
Okay.
in between, and then there's kind of bullfighting the way across.
Sure. So you're kind of now in the open guard where they're sort of playing like a Toriando
Right.
pass or X pass kind of situation. Okay. So a couple things about that is so when it comes to the standing guard pass, basically it should not be too effective if he doesn't have my sleeve, right? So the first thing that I need to basically do is not let him get a hold of his sleeve. If John here grabs my sleeve and he kind of pulls that thing back, now I'm in trouble. Like, this is where this starts to really become a problem. The first thing that you can do if this happens, because from here, go ahead and don't let me pull his sleeve back. It's really hard to get this back when he loads it in like this. So I like to do, I call this like the Ric Flair, is I'm going to come up and take it back. You know, if he, most likely he's going to let go at this point, right? Because obviously his arm's in a dangerous spot. But if he doesn't, now you have your arm to attack. But it's, you know, Ric Flair can do it. Flipping your hand. Woo! Right. So basically, anytime someone grabs a hold of my sleeve and they start pulling on that thing, like the first thing I do is I come up and I take it back. Right? So that's number one. If he stands without that sleeve grip, there's a couple ways that they might do that. Number one is he'll say put his hands in my armpits and stand up for like a violator pass. If he does that, as long as I put my feet to the floor, it's like try to grind that. You know the violator pass?
Not all the way.
Basically, you're gonna try to put your knee into my tailbone and try to grind in the middle. It's like as long as I keep my feet down, he's just gonna kind of load me up on top of his hips. What'll eventually happen is I can pivot and get my angle for the arm attack. Huh?
That's it for the arm part.
Yeah, it's right there. But again, the key is like keeping my feet going to the floor so that my hips are going up. Like as my feet are going down, my hips are going up. If he stands up straight to the ceiling without a sleeve grip, I have a lot of options. A couple of things. So this is all before they've broken the guard, basically. So let's say, John, you just stand all the way up. Okay. My first simplest option is I'm going to put my hands on his shins, and I'm going to push on his shins while I shoulder lock back. Like that works like a surprisingly large amount of the time. Just kind of post on the shins and shimmy back. Okay. Let's see. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but let me see if there's anything else I want. Well, actually, let me say this. What you don't want to do is try to follow them up. Like, it seems like instinctively that would be helpful, but like, I'm not gonna have you do this, but if he stands up and I'm like sitting up, holding on to him, I'm not really in a good position. There are some attacks I can do from there, but that's a whole different can of worms. But I would say generally, on a fundamental level, it's pretty much knocked down. I'll show one last thing that I like to do from here. Let's say he stands all the way up, right? So he doesn't have the sleeve grip. Or if, say, he had the sleeve grip, I was able to break the sleeve grip. That's a low percentage thing, though. It's not going to be common you're going to break that grip from this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to the like a cross grip from here. I'm going to underhook his leg, swing, up. So I would say as far as if they're standing up, those are like the first major things that I launch at. Is like first off, I don't want him to have my sleeve. Second off, I don't want him to be able to put his knee in my tailbone so my feet go to the floor if he starts trying to do that. And then if he goes all the way up and he's trying to be straight, like straight up and down, I'm working to either put him back to his knees by shoulder locking and pushing off of the shins, or I might open up and go for that omoplata attack. There's also technically, that's like kind of the old school sort of thing would be, okay, go for that. The old school deal is I'm in the closed guard and he stands all the way up, and I have either like my classical waiter sweep from here. I would say if there's any DH, like some people, like this is a hard sweep to get sometimes. I would say that the key nuance to this is that, well, I have to recognize that what I need to make happen, I need to rotate out, right? Like if I just try to push into him, it kind of like doesn't do anything. But if I think about like turning his knee, see, that starts checking his balance, right? Like I'm just trying to spin. You also have, from that scenario, and I would call this lower percentage, but it's cool. He stands up. This is like old school. Is I'm gonna get close to this, and let's say I'm trying for that sweep and it's not working. So I'm gonna post on my hand. I'm gonna kick my leg. I'm gonna take his foot up. I'm gonna just go. I'm just facing the same leg. That's called a star sweep. Yeah. Let's see.
Can you show that one to somebody else?
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, Gregory. So I'll go through all that stuff so we can see everything. So again, the first thing is, if Tom gets this sleeve, and I'm here, I'm not going to win this fight this way. So I'm going to come up to it and bring it back. Use my body. Again, most likely he'll let go. If he doesn't let go, I'll attack you. So that's one. Two, let's say he stands up and he starts trying to do that violator pass. So his hands go on my armpits. He's going to stand up and try to put his knee on my tailbone. I'm pushing my feet to the floor. And eventually what I want to do is pivot my butt off to the side. And that'll give me access to the armbar. If
You never want to be, you want to get it kind of as close as you can as possible. You don't want to be sitting out here where you'd rather be underneath them like this.
basically, yeah, I want my hips to be on, pretty much, yeah, my hips almost be attached to them. The way I'm going to do that is like I said, pushing my feet to the floor.
Okay.
That's also in general, by the way,
Right.
not to get too into the weeds, but if I'm here and like even just like say you try to put like a knee in the middle, it's like, as long as they do that, it's like he's never going to break open this guard that way. Without doing like something really sloppy, like if he tries to post on his knee or something, like he might be able to do that, but as he's posting on that knee, I can attack that arm. So, get that sort of thing. Anyway, so let's say he stands up, he doesn't have the sleeve grip, then my first goal is going to be to just push on his shins and like shoulder walk back to pull him down. Second thing, he goes up. I'm working for this cross grip and this underhook. I'm going to extend, catch, and roll. It's very pretty much similar, if you guys remember the omoplata stuff we did. Cross grip, it's pretty much the same thing. And then the last two deals, apparently I'm just going to show like 12 techniques to answer your question.
Put it in the toolbox, baby.
Right, is say he stands up. So you have the classical waiter sweep, where I'm going to go here, and for the sake of simplicity, Tom, let's say you're not pinching this, because what you're doing is like what you should do to someone in this scenario, is pinch your knees together. But basically, I'm going to try to press my butt almost like over this kneecap with the goal of just like trying to like turn his knee. I want to go right to the mat at the heel, so I want to kind of spin his heel, if that makes sense. And then finally, the last one, I'm here, he stands straight up. Maybe I've gone for this sweep and it's not working. So I'll try to do this slow. I'm gonna kick my leg over, end up in sort of like on my knees, and then bring the foot up. And most likely you transfer triple from that. That's a start sweep. So does that answer basically the question you were asking? I'll give you one last thing is if you end up in the open guard, I would say in general, the principle that I think is the most effective to dealing with anytime you're in a situation where like, well, I don't really like to work from here, they're trying to pass my guard, is your objective should basically at that point be reset. Right? So Tom's broken open my guard and he's standing over me, say you're up to your feet, and he's got my pants strips on my knee or something. This is a sucky position to work from. So my goal is not to try to make the most out of this. My goal is to make this no longer the scenario, right? So maybe I'm like here, and just trying to like disengage. If that makes sense. Obviously easier said than done. But if you think about your goal being to become like almost purely defensive and framing, and just to get back to where you feel comfortable. So it might be like that, where I kind of butt scoop and come up the face, or it might be that you got the dance again. He's coming in, it might be working to like get a collar grip. So even if say he passes to the other side, like just kind of keeping him at the end of that telephone pole until I can kind of re-engage in something that's more my feet. Does that make sense? Cool.
why don't we just partner up and work on those things, just for a few minutes?